Good morning. The bugle is playing taps down the street. C's out walking Alfie, her dog. And hi, good morning. I started talking before it started recording, I think. Anyway, C's out walking Alfie. Any minute, Leona's going to let Kevin in the door. And so he'll be roaring in here. So it's probably the most inappropriate time to be doing Facebook Live because, and yet somehow it's very topical for the day. Um, After our conversation last week about stressors, I gotta say, um, and then Alfie coming back, and then Kevin wanted to play with Alfie, and then Kevin going outside to bark at Lola, and here I am, and talking at 7 a.m., where most people may not even know I'm doing that. And I'm basically talking to myself. But that's kind of the topic. Humor. Humor is kind of the topic. um, I realized one of the things in my becoming aware of the adventure of de stressing. I realized one of the possible phenomenon of de-stressing is that we often operate as if we are trying to figure out. I can't see if you're. I can't see comments, so I don't know how to do that. They switched everything again. Let me see if I can do it this way. No. Oh well. I'm talking to myself for sure because I can't see you and I can't see your comments. So here we go. Isn't that interesting? Just more to work out. So I watch. I've been watching a series. Probably shouldn't say what it is. It could ruin my reputation, but if I have one. But it was actually called Containment, and I love theater. And actually, the acting was phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal. The storyline is really good. It covers a lot of the uh, activities that happen when people are being told what to do and they don't trust the source of being told what to do. It's also about sometimes love doesn't win, and it's all about being a hero and a heroine. But it's real. It's like real people having to confront real things and having even personality issues that under stress kind of reveal who people are under stress that they may never be when they're not stressed. So there's a there's a phenomenon of existence that we're existing in now, where we kind of don't know what's going to happen, and um, and that's really where to de-stress. We have had manageable lives. For a lot of us have. Some of us don't. Some of us live in the face of maybe somebody with an addiction or someone who is ill and can't fend for themselves. There's lots of different dynamics that occur that are stressors by the nature of life itself. And that's kind of the point too. It's um, it's how you come at it. And I noticed this morning we have a irrigation system for our backyard, but it's um, it's raining a lot, and I in the daytime I can't see. I know where the off button is now because I figured out I could go out in the dark and with the sun not reflecting on the panel and that I could, with a flashlight, see where to turn it off. And it felt like a real score that I figured that out. But I also know how I would have thought about it since I started this project of de stressing. And how I would have thought about it was that something was wrong with me, that I couldn't see in the daylight, and that I needed help. And somehow it just, this whole idea about de stressing, you get really clear that 90% of your stress is your thoughts. And and how you actually can have a thought that's stressful and not be stressed about it. Actually, that's where humor comes in. And a humor actually comes in when you can have a stressful thought and not be stressed about it. And there's a madness afoot. Um, there's a madness that one's own sense of self needs to grow exponentially with that madness. Not the madness in you, although we all probably have that, but this sense of self that is incredibly valuable under stressful conditions. And so I've been kind of paralleling my thinking. I've been thinking, what's my sense of self? And examining a sense of self that I find valuable to me, not anybody else, to me, and 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 how to deal with stressors, uh, because everything's more stressful now. It's in the air. It's not like circumstances can de-stress us anymore or stress us. Everything is stressful right now. It's a collective event. It's a species stress. Then yesterday I had one of the most truly, I have been missing my magical days, my synchronic. Uh, People always tease me because I just have this high rate of things coming together most of the time, but I haven't since Lily died and since I had COVID, and I really missed it. I missed, and it wasn't a matter of me as a doer being able to bring a whole bunch of things together. I know that's what people think. Literally, our mind is designed to web into the mind of creation. And then you just mostly pay attention. And there's less you have to do because you only do what's aligned with your sense of self. What operates on, in my case, what operates on behalf of life and has us, including me, exist as whole. Um, that's my foundation. And it's not like I have it handled. I've had one of the worst years of my life. Not the worst year. That's when my son Jeremy died. But one of the most difficult years of my life. But there's this phenomenon of sense of self where one is not just self-aware, like being able to describe oneself. One is self-aware of caring for self, not caring for selfishness, but really treasuring that we were born into a mind and born into a body, and that mind and body, it's the only time it's ever going to exist. And we're visitors. It doesn't own us and we don't own it. It's visitors, we're guests. So that kind of gives you a sense of what sense of self is. And there's a correlate in this movie, Containment. I'm not advertising it. I got to say, one of the things that I loved about it, I stopped at the end of every episode, there are 11 of them, and I read the quote, and then I listened carefully to the music. I'm going to actually go back and pull the music and put it on my iPod, some of it. iPad, yeah, my my phone, because it was that kind of sculpting of a story that was meant to drive deeper points home, points about death and points about loss and points about sadness and points about unworkability and all these things that we use to define ourselves. And yet, in the face of unworkability, loss, death, illness, uh, pandemic, there's a sense of self that rises. And that sense of self actually has to survive if we do. But the odds increase exponentially. That's for damn sure. Because you're not panicking and you're handling your panic through sense of self, and you're dealing with things as effectively as you can, and you're not coming down on yourself because you're operating in stressful conditions. But those quotes, I literally went back to every episode last night. I haven't finished it, but I wanted to, because I'd seen eight of them. I went back and I listened to the final song and I read the quote. And it's what we call giving someone access. That there's a storyline, and then at the end there's a quote, and there's music all through the scenes. There's this background, deep philosophical music. It's just amazing, and it creates a effect that actually has left me in episode 8 better off for it, uh, more able to have a model of thinking, a model of what I was present to in it, that if things go awry or if things become stressful at a level that is where it looks like the odds are against us, I actually have music and quotes and a story uh, lived as real that I can reflect on. That's part of the beauty of movies and part of the beauty of philosophy and poetry and is it gives you a way to reflect. Otherwise, you're just left with the past-based thinking and the past-based experiences, and what we're moving in now isn't the past. Even those of us that were born, were activists in the '60s. This is very different than that. This is um, this is uh, globally cultural, and it's at the same time private and individual. So I was really kind of nervous about coming on the Facebook Live tonight, especially now I can't see a thing anybody's saying. I don't know what happened to the comments, and I don't want to push any buttons because I could go off the screen. And I'll read them later if you're on, or if I'm talking to myself. I will have had 45 minutes of reflection because I have to leave at a quarter of the hour and get to a doctor appointment. But so I was thinking that movie gave me the ability, that series gave me the ability to muse. And musing is great. Musing is very different than trying to figure out problems. Musing is really pondering, really honestly being in I don't know, being in I don't know how to, being in let me reflect on everything that's going on. Let me just reflect. Let me just uh, hang out with it. And first of all, that lowers your cortisol. It calms down your amygdala and your hippocampus, and you get to have more activity in your gut because in that calm, your gut knowing begins to rise as part of a sense of self, a sense of self. So musing, I would say, not trying. I didn't want to make this time together a self-help book. I really am musing on this. I really don't have answers. What I've observed is that I can wake up in the morning ready to be stressed. And that it would be okay to have some humor about that. I mean, humor about waking up ready to be stressed. And then I've noticed that there's something amusing on my relationship with myself. That's where you tap into your sense of self. You're musing on my relationship with myself to see how it's going. How's it going? And and sometimes it's going really well, and sometimes it's really fragile, and sometimes it's delicate and unnerving, and um, concerns overwhelm. But to view it from a distance, to observe it and be present to it, and just let yourself be open to it, it de-stresses. It just does. We've got the most magical biological system the world could ever ask for. I mean, if you give it half the chance, it will, unless it's become habituated. But even that can solve itself over time. Mostly we think our thoughts have meaning. We think that what we think is going to happen will happen, or what we worry about is going to happen is going to happen. And therefore we should be upset about it or worried about it before it ever shows up. And then sometimes we're even embarrassed because it doesn't show up. And and then if we have any level of reflection, sorry, I just have to see if my daughter's texted me about bringing the dog. She was supposed to be here by now. Um, there, they and just to notice and be a little kinder in your thought patterns, in a sense of relating to self. And then the other one is the obstacle of predetermined expectation. You have an expectation about yourself that under certain conditions you can't meet that expectation. And that's a capacity. That's a capacity. Because there are times we can't meet our own expectations, and there are times we know we have to meet them. And it's pretty important to know which is which and when is what. It's pretty important to know that, because the pressure of the world on us and the shifts of consciousness that are going on. So we have two parallel activities going on. One activity is that the culture as we know it is redefining it. Culture of life as we know it is redefining itself. The other is that we're in an awakening as a collective culture. I mean consciousness. And I had a 2-hour meeting with Michael Van Schreiber and Dr. Heather Hunt, DC, and it was truly one of the most awesome conversations I've had in years. And it was regarding something in the book, in the second half of the book called Metabody, about feedback loops, which sounds really boring, doesn't it? But it wasn't. It was awesome, because what we got into was the human beings evolve with or without their perception of their own evolution. Human beings awaken without their conscious directive. They can babysit themselves. They can tend to their own awakening. They can tend to there's a system shift. But when it's all said and done, it's the body that registers everything. There's no register for anything without the body. And what we were observing is the body is registering a type of existence that it's preparing for. And it's reaching out for what has been missing in its anatomy, which is its spirit. So you could say it's expanding beyond its borders of survival, and it's entering the realm of its original nature, of its original design, which is a spirit and flesh system that allows a certain consciousness called human being to exist here. And we were looking at it through so many lenses that most of which I can't even remember because um, Heather will put it in writing, and then I'll look at it because the whole point is for the person to get access to something, not to have a new database or have a new understanding. And but it was really quite remarkable, and it'll be fun to live it again when I read what Heather's written about it, and then what we all begin to bring to the party about it. But we discovered something in that conversation. It's been happening a lot because being what I am, I always am on the I do things that are leading edge. I find leading edge technology about my body. I, I'm just stay on the edge. I'm an edge player because it fits with it being psychic. You're always standing on the edge of the next future. So there's a dynamic that is going on that I've been paying attention to since 2016, and now we're going to see if we can language it. Uh, like I'll give you one example, and just take it because it's not a fully fleshed out thing. So when the word electron was invented, the thought mechanism in its invention, in its descriptor, was like planets moving around the sun. And electron is not a round thing. It is not like a planet moving around the sun. Actually, what an electron is you can't see it because the electron is a fluctuation point. The only reason you know they're electrons is because you can see a because you can see a proton. Well, there's something just fascinating about that. So then when you look at feedback loops, which is something in the body that regulates body temperature so that you don't boil up in the heat and don't freeze to death in the cold, and so the body can trash toxins. That's a fluctuation point. And so prana, they've discovered, they have equated prana that it's made up of electrons. It has fluctuation points. And then there was this whole other conversation, which you'll get to read about in Metabody, that shows how our bodies are trained to be in fluctuation points. And guess where we are? We're in a fluctuation point. Several of them. It's constant fluctuation points. It's not like you have one and then you settle down. So you could say we're learning to be fluctuating. We're learning to fluctuate. It's a good idea. And if we can embrace or comprehend or recognize fluctuations, and we can take our hands off the levers and dials during those times, we won't be so stressed. I was trying to think of the analogy because there is one, but I can't remember it. There's something about when you let go of something and then you grab it again. If those of you, if anyone's on the comment feed that I can't see, you can go in and say if you remember what it is. But there's sometimes you let go of something and then you grab it because if when it comes back around, for instance. Because if you don't let go of it, it's going to take you spinning out into the universe. So that's kind of the deal. It's kind of an amazing moment in time, and that amazing moment in time is here, and it's okay to become relatively narrow-minded during this time, and just deal with your own stressors. Not deal with them like trying to get over them, but deal with managing them through maybe strange and unusual means, but definitely not being at the effect of them. And I think we need to learn that we're in a fluctuation point. multiple ones actually, and what that is to each of us, and how we're going to be with that. And oh yeah, I forgot the pity party. I'll talk about myself. So there's this pity party called "It Shouldn't Be This Way," or "Why Is It This Way," or "What's Wrong Here," or "Things Are Never Going to Be All Right." Well, that may be true. We don't know. I haven't a prediction, obviously, but who's ever listened to me um, about predictions? But truthfully, that was another good thing about that series is there was no possibility of future in the corded off area. It just wasn't there. Here comes the dog. So I'm probably going to stand up in a minute and put his food down, unless that's C coming back with Alfie. I can't tell. We'll find out soon enough. Let's see. No, that's Alfie. Light footed and. Oh, no, it's the boy. It's the boy. Look what I got. Look what I got for you. Oh, yummy. You want to eat? Oh, good boy. I'm going to go shut the door while you eat. Can you sit? Sit. Sit a minute. Yeah, because Alfie going out. Going out, Steve. Oh, damn it. Come here. Come here. Thank you all so much for helping. In. Come on, let's eat. Come on, let's eat. Kevin. Sorry, everybody. And talk about a fluctuation point. Yeah, I thought I had it managed, but here we go. Come on, let's go. All right, we did it. Okay. Yeah. We got the boy. Yeah. And that's what I mean. You can't count on the world to be backing you up. It's nobody's fault. Everybody's busy about their own thing right now. It's just not how it goes. Sometimes, and sometimes it does. But the point is to reset so that you just take on the next thing that has to happen. Because, like today, I have to get Kevin fed. I had to do a Facebook Live at 7. I have to get to the doctor's by 8:15. I was pretty sure the house would be chaotic, even though I tried to have it not be. And I knew I'd probably fail. and, but it's okay. It's okay, because if I use any of it to stress out, I won't be able to enjoy my next minute. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm a person who trains people. I'm a person that facilitates consciousness awakening. I am a person who could stay in a process of, what's the word I want? A process of trying to manage a room, trying to bring everything to the next greater whole, trying to have everything work out, trying to have everything, trying to. But I'm not going to, not unless I'm being paid for it. In my own life, it's really important to me that I stay still inside myself and that I discover life newly in a manner I never had before. Because do you know we actually had room for stress in the past? We had room for stress, especially us people who are living in the United States of America. And I doubt if there are many people on this call that are homeless. And if you are, please let me know so I can support you. No, we live the good life. We do. And we act like we don't. We act like we don't. So we're going to be stressed where people that don't lead the good life are stressed every minute of every day. And it's not to compare, and it's not to, like, children in Africa are starving was the one my mother used on me when I was uh, when I was young. It's not that. It's that each of us has a few years ahead of us in our families and in our friends and in our circumstances, where recognizing that life is precious is um, important. And if you can recognize your life is precious, that's enough. Everybody can take care of themselves. We got to get back to ground zero. We got to get back to ground zero. And so, sort of letting loose of our social conditioning, and letting loose of how we think we have to be, and letting loose of how we think we have to manage things, or letting loose of how we think things have to be, like calm during Facebook Live. Uh, we just gotta let them go. We just gotta let them go, and then move on. You may not be able to, like our dog, like the dog Kevin. He's learning how to. In fact, he didn't even jump up on me when he came in. We've been going to doggy daycare. Remember, that's where I'm getting my training, and and it's just so beautiful because if we just remember that we shake off anxiety like a dog does, we shake off stressors, just shake it off. Hey, babes. Hey, you want to see people? Here's the boy. That's Kevin. Do you see everybody? Do you see them? Yeah. Yeah. What's happening? Are you looking at yourself? He's going to start growling because he thinks he's looking at himself. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about this morning. That's what I wanted to do. I thought I'd give you a lived as experience of what I'm working with and how my life goes, and see if we can't get in a shared field about it, and operate accordingly. And operate accordingly. All right, shake it off. Have a sense of humor. Be kind to yourself, and you can't. Just stay focused. Just stay focused in your. He found his toy. Stay focused in your capacity to reset yourself. There are three things in homeostasis that we could learn a lot about as our own practices. One is to, I'm trying to get it. One is to reset yourself when you need a new set point. Just reset yourself. And you may have to do it several times. The toy, it used to be the end of where my curtains were, but we put up more beautiful rod. And we're now playing fetch. And so that's the reset point. And then the acclimation point in homeostasis is we just have to reacclimate all the time right now. And have it be an adventure. Have it be a new possibility for your own well-being, for your own adventure of self, to increase your capacity to be in your own joy of your own existence, and who you hold yourself to be. And don't compare it to other people. And don't expect other people to be that way. That is really not going to work out. I can promise you that, for sure. And but then there's the feedback loop, and that's the most important thing. The feedback loop is to always be in touch with your spirit, and always be in touch with spirit itself, and always be part of the greater nature of creation of which we're a part. Remember, we're a borrowed body. We're even a borrowed personality. It was framed by the conditions of the world we were born into. We're the only one that can sculpt a sense of self. And we don't have to match it to the world around us. I know that's been one of my most challenging things. Sorry, we're playing, hear him growling. We're playing, I know we're playing tug. And the but that's the hardest part, I think, is that to thine own self be true, and not defensively, and not protectively, and not screw youly, and not what's the word I want? Covertly. But what's the other one? Where you there's a psychological term for it. Somebody will probably write it in the chat that I can't see. Uh, Passive aggressive. Don't do that. You know, when I'm mad, I'm mad, and when I'm sad, I'm sad, and when I'm glad, I'm glad, and when I'm stressed, I'm stressed. And I really want you to listen to me. You don't have to condition yourself for the people around you. Work it out your own way. You know, work it out your own way. But inform them. Like I had to tell C the other day, I was so pissed off I'd forgotten something, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't get back to not letting it show up in my text and my voice. And so then I just told her. It just really pissed me off. I forgot to do what I needed to do. And just be real. Just be real. I don't know how we'll do. That was the most interesting series for me, because I have so many clients that are in professions that deal with corporations and deal with corporations and employees and health industries and workers, and everybody's so surprised at how people are being. And we just have to remember everybody's just trying to do the best they can. And our judgment of others and our ability to be reliable to being real in the moment we experience what we're experiencing, and to be relational about it, to stay relational about it. Because sometimes there are disappointments, and like I'd like this morning to have gone differently. Sometimes there's surprises. Sometimes life has a way of us not really knowing what's around the block, and something about the way we think and the way we process information keeps us inside our head, not out here in the world. I don't mean in the circumstances of the world, in the day. In the day, like because I went out to shut off the water in the dark because I thought I could see the dial with the sun not glaring on it, I got to turn around and see the moon and Venus. You never know. You never know what the next thing that you think stressful or you don't have time for, it's just going to be too hard. If you're just not stressed about it, if you just do your best to shake off the stress especially, then you may find there's an adventure at every corner. Anyway, thank you. I have no idea if anybody was on this call. I'll go back and look later. And maybe I'll even figure out how to find the comments again. Take precious care. I'm off to the doctor.